they're not quite there. They've got to prove it on the field this year. And until they prove it on the field, and I remember they were, feeling pretty good about things and confident about things last year, and they should have, but then they went to the 3 games that mattered in the division series and were swept out of the division series. Cody Bellinger's catch in game 2
last year, that's for sure. So
yeah,
sorry,
Bellinger's catch
that is watching that
run,
forgot to press live. So we're just talking about the Dodgers. So welcome, Loro, Tim here. So let's talk about this next thing. So do you think that the third best team in the National League West will be the Diamondbacks or the Giants?
I mean, if I had to make a prediction, I'd probably say the Giants. I think the Giants seem like they're getting better. Diamondbacks should be okay. I like their addition of Asdrubal Cabrera, bringing in a veteran player like that. Ketel Marte is exciting. He's a very exciting player to watch. So I think third place would be between those two. I just think Colorado has dug themselves too deep a hole, and they'll have a big crowd tomorrow, or a lot of interest tomorrow, and a decent sized crowd in Denver for that game. There'll be a lot of interest at the downtown businesses in the downtown area. It will be, buzzing more than it has in a long time. But when game 2 comes around, things are going to be a little different. And when game 20 comes around and that team is, 5-15, I think that the Rockies fans are going to give up on them. I hate to see that because their manager is one of the best in the game, and he just has, the tools they gave him to work with. They took away the biggest one they had in Nolan Arenado and sent him away. And then who knows what's going to happen with the next best guy in Trevor Story. It doesn't appear to me he'll be back next year with the Rockies.
It looks like the Rockies are going to be on a fire sale. So let's speaking of the Rockies. So do you think the Rockies are heading for a rebuild now that Nolan Arenado isn't a Rocky anymore?
They are. They're doing it right now. I mean, they've been doing it. They don't claim that they're in a rebuild. Last year, they got off to a good start, if you remember. They were in first place for the first few weeks of the season, but then things caught up to them and they fell apart. And people want to blame the mile high air and all that stuff. I wouldn't do that. It's just a matter of the fact that field is way too big and hits drop in there all the time. I think that's the only place you could play with a 4-man outfield. I really do. If you look at the way that thing's constructed, batting averages are high there, not because people are hitting a million home runs. There are going to be way more home runs hit at Dodger Stadium at sea level than there will be at Coors Field this year. You can mark that down.
Do you think there will be more home runs hit at AT&T Park?
Probably.
Because that's a ballpark that's more pitcher-friendly than Petco Park and Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, and they moved in the fences, too. Last year was the first year they moved them in. So the bullpen is now out in, right center field where there used to be Triples Alley is what they would call it. So it's a little easier to hit one out in San Francisco now.
So let's talk about this. So who's your breakout player on the Dodgers this year? Mine is Gavin Lux, Zach McKinstry, and I picked those two guys just because I think Zach McKinstry's really been impressive this spring. I think Gavin Lux, like you alluded to, he hasn't disappointed. And Jimmy Nelson, I could really see him proving me wrong again in the regular season.
Well, I'm hoping it's Gavin Lux. I think his time is now. I think the way that he's progressed, his setback last year, and then he came back and did, some good things during the course of the season. But I think he realized that nothing was going to be handed to him in the big leagues. And he's gone out and he's earned his spot this year. And I do think that he can come away with a breakout type season. I hope he does. Don't count out Edwin Rios either. Edwin can really hit the long ball. I think he hits a home run every 10 at bats. So I think if he gets enough playing time, he can, over 162 games, if he's up here for all that time and healthy, getting his spot starts here and there, because this is his rookie year by designation. He qualifies as a rookie here in 2021. So you could count that as a breakout season. But I'm looking for Gavin Lux to have a good year. I think that if he does have a good year, that the Dodgers will have a good year.
I think the Dodgers are going to have a great year. So do you predict that the Dodgers will win over 100 games this year or under 100 games?
Over. I mean, last year they were on a pace to win 116. If we had a full season, that would have tied a major league record. I think if you're just looking at 100, yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that they're going to win 100 games. And it's not overconfidence. It's just seeing what this team has, seeing what everybody else has, seeing what they did last year with basically the same group of guys. I think they're in a window right now where they can win at this pace, for this year and for the foreseeable, future ahead.
Oh, of course. I mean, the Dodgers are built to win for a long time. So when do you expect guys like Bruce Gratterall and Joe Kelly to be back on the Dodgers bullpen?
No idea. It's going to be a while. I know, especially with Kelly, they were just further behind. And then essentially what has to happen is when they're deemed ready to go, they basically start the clock. That would be the same clock they'd have in spring training. They try to accelerate it some, but they have a process, a throwing program. You can't throw every day. You don't want to risk injury. So you have to have time down in between to do other things. So it's going to be a while. I couldn't even speculate. I wouldn't want to speculate. We don't have the access to the players the way we used to due to COVID. So I couldn't even get an inside scoop on that job. So I don't know. I really couldn't give you an answer.
Oh, okay. So now when it comes to Dodgers aces, do you think that it's Walker Buehler's now the ace of the Dodgers starting staff, or do you still give that to Clayton Kershaw?
I think that when you talk about an ace on the Dodgers staff, I think it has a different meaning. It doesn't mean your best pitcher like it does everywhere else. It doesn't mean you're number one like everyone else. It just means he's earned it. He's the elder statesman. It's a title. It's a title more than anything because, they got 5 of them,
They got 5 good starters.
Yeah, and they got like 8 good starters right now. 3 of them are in the bullpen. So I think with the Dodgers, the term ace is just kind of because of his status more than anything. It doesn't mean that he's the best pitcher. He's really good, but then the guy that comes after him is really good, and the guy that comes after him is really good, and the next guy's really good. So I think some of these guys would be aces on other staffs for sure. They'd be standout aces. But I just think the term ace with the Dodgers and the way they're constructed, it has a totally different meaning.
Okay, so now with MLB topics, so who do you think is going to be the best division in baseball this year?
Maybe let's see. I don't know. Maybe the National League East.
That's always a good division.
Yeah, I think the Mets are going to make it a little tighter. The Nationals will be good. Braves will be good again. Phillies will get better. So maybe the National League East is the better one.
Yeah, I asked that because actually my stepdad's actually a Washington Nationals fan. He grew up in the Washington area. He grew up watching the Senators back in the day. But he was so happy when the Nationals won the World Series. But he told me he was like he can't wait to see the Nationals sweep the Dodgers when they return home since he's a Nationals fan and he's from Washington, D.C. So we have a Nationals fan in my household.
That's why they play the games. You never know. They match up. Somebody wins, somebody loses, and it's not always who you think.
So
That's
in the
baseball.
American League, do you think the Yankees are now the best team in the American League? And do you think that the Rays can repeat their success that they had last season heading into this season?
I think the Rays will take a little bit of a step back. I think they're going to be pretty good. The Yankees should win that division, but I think the Blue Jays are better. I think the Blue Jays are a team to keep an eye on in the AL East. If they can keep the Yankees within arm's length, they might have a chance to catch them. I think they're that good. They're good enough. But I do think that the Blue Jays are going to be a team to look out for in the American League East.
Absolutely. Look at that lineup with Springer and Bichette. But do you think that the Braves or the Cardinals will challenge the Dodgers in the National League as a whole?
Don't forget the Brewers. Everybody wants to hand the Cardinals the division because they have Nolan Arenado. How'd that work out for Nolan in Colorado? They didn't win with him. They're not going to win without him. So I think that the Brewers are probably the best team in the Central. Don't count them out. I think they're good. They've got one of the best managers in the game too, in Craig Counsell. But they're very, very good. And I think it's probably going to be between the Brewers, Cardinals, and Cubs in the National League Central. but don't count out the Brewers. I think the Brewers might be a sleeper team this year.
Or don't forget about the Reds too, because they still got Castellanos, Joey Votto, who's kind of old. Their starting pitching's kind of good, but the Reds.
I still think those other three teams are better than the Reds.
Yeah. So another question is, do you think that Mike Trout will finally win a playoff game with the Angels? And is this the year that the Angels finally end their long playoff drought? And do you think Francisco Lindor will get a lifetime contract with the Mets?
I don't know about Lindor. I don't know how somebody goes back and says that's not enough. Getting offered that kind of money in that length of time, and then you say, no, not good enough. I just don't know how you do that. I really don't. But who knows? If the Mets say no, we're doing this and that's it, then good luck to Lindor. But on the other hand, as far as Trout's concerned, I used to think that the only way Mike Trout was going to win a playoff game is if they traded him. But the Angels might surprise some people. Last two nights that I've watched them, again, they're exhibition games. They're managed differently. They're scripted. It's totally different than a regular season game. It's a 180 degrees difference. But I think the Angels can be pretty good in that division. The A's are going to be good again. The Rangers they're like terrible off the table. So that's going to be some easy pickings, you'd think, for the Angels when they play the Rangers. The Astros are still going to be good, but are they the same Astros? I don't think so.
The Astros are pretty much have not been the same team since the cheating scandal. But let's talk about some MVP talk. So do you think that Aaron Judge will finally win an American League MVP award, and will Corey Seager win the National League MVP? Because those two are my picks to win the National League and American League MVP.
And no idea about Judge. I think that because he plays in New York, he might get a few extra votes. I don't know. He's got to play the season. We got to see what he does. Corey Seager, we see up close and personal. So I think that he'll be in that discussion. Can he continue to play at that level just all the way through the season? That's hard to say. He's going to have to get some days off. He's going to have to get some days down. And he especially has to stay healthy, because we saw what happens when he stays healthy. He was just absolutely terrific. The other thing about Corey Seager is that he's in a walk year. So he has not been given a contract extension yet, to the best of my knowledge. And if he becomes a free agent, then this year is super important to him in terms of what it is that, they're going to be requiring of him on the free agent market. I think he could break the bank being the best shortstop out there, unless Lindor and the Mets can't agree, then Lindor goes back out.
Oh, I see. I mean, that's it, that this shortstop free agent class this offseason ahead is going to be very, very interesting. But do you think that, before you go, like, when it comes to like other best players on the Dodgers besides Corey Seager, Justin Turner's the heart and soul of the Dodgers lineup. Do you think Cody Bellinger and Max Muncy are guys that you're also impressed with too?
Oh yeah, how can you not be? I mean, I think for Max Muncy, I think he'd like to get his batting average up, but the production's still there. He's going to have a ton of home runs. This team led the world in home runs last year. And Muncy was part of that group, so he'll be productive. Even if he hits, in the low to mid twos, that's going to be okay. He just doesn't want to hit under 200 like he did last year in a short season. Long season, these things even out. But all those guys, I think, are back to contribute. Mookie Betts he's the engine now. He's the engine that drives the train, and he was from the minute he showed up last year. And I'm just grateful that people get a chance to see him in person. There'll be about 18,000, I think, out there on opening day now. I think they're allowed to have that many people. And as the season goes along, we hope more and more can come and see and watch him in person. But to see him over the length of a full season, which I was lucky enough to do when I was in Boston, it's a remarkable thing on a daily basis to watch what he does. And you'll see it in the long form schedule this year. And I think people appreciate him even more.
A lot of Dodger fans are looking forward to seeing him in person at Dodger Stadium. But another question I had for you is, what is it like covering Mookie Betts, Joe Kelly, and David Price from your time in Boston? And now those three were from the 2018 World Series Red Sox World Series championship team, now with the Dodgers.
Well, it's great. I mean, unfortunately, due to COVID, I mean, I've only talked to Mookie a couple of times down in spring training before the shutdown last year, and I talked to him on TV and off the air on the headset upstairs. He was in the dugout. That's about it. David, I haven't even talked to because I was going to go see him one day at spring training. We get shut down the next. Haven't seen him. He opted out. Joe Kelly, I had seen, during the 2019 season quite often. It was great to be around him. Joe and I get along pretty well, and he's a fun guy to be around. But I think that it's nice to see them, and it's nice to see that these guys were part of an organization that they were able to win a World Series in 2018 as players, and as players and individuals. They're with another organization where they were able to get a World Series ring twice in a 3-season span, and not many people get to do that. So, I'm happy for them that they're part of the organization also.
Yes, they're a great part of the Dodgers organization, but I'm looking forward to a great season. But what do you expect from the catchers? Do you think that Will Smith will start every day with Barnes starting once a week? That's how I see it.
No, what's going to happen is they'll have Smith will get the lion's share. It'll probably be 2 out of 3. And Barnes will more than likely catch Kershaw. So they'll work on that schedule and work backwards from there. I think that with Barnes, he's going to catch more than 1 day a week. And then, Keeper Ruiz, he walked out. He came into spring training late and he fell out of bed and just started hitting everything in sight. So I think this is going to be a great year for him. I think they're loaded at catcher. I think we're going to see some of Keibert this year. And I think he's going to contribute. So I think the catching position is rock solid. Offensively, Will Smith is going to be one of the better hitting catchers in the game. And, Austin Barnes does all kinds of different things. So I do think it's going to probably end up being a situation where it's maybe 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4. But they'll start with Kershaw's schedule, I think, and then work backwards from there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how wouldn't you like Austin Barnes? He's very good at framing the pitches, but I just think, to me, in my opinion, I just think Will Smith's more the everyday guy. But you're saying is that Austin Barnes is going to get a lot of starts, but I'm not a fan of personal catchers. I know that Clayton Kershaw is going to be wanting Austin Barnes behind the plate every time, but he's got to expect Will Smith to catch him sometimes.
Sometimes they will, but they don't refer to it as a personal catcher. It's just, it's nomenclature, I guess. It's they don't look at it that way. They try not to look at it that way, even though when you look at the lineup, more often than not, it's Barnes catching him. So it's not by coincidence.
Okay, so Tim, thank you so much for joining us on our show. I hope you enjoyed. I'll send you the link to watch it, and good luck on the season. And I can't wait to hear you on Sportsnet LA and on AM 570.
All right, thanks. I'm looking forward to getting back on there myself. I didn't have too many games last year because of the pandemic, but this year I've got a pretty full schedule.
Thanks for hopping on, Tim.
All right, thanks, Lorenzo.
So that is Tim Neverett, the Dodgers radio announcer. So my final thoughts is, before we end this broadcast, is that I think the Dodgers are going to win over 100 games. And hearing from Tim, I think Tim Neverett is a knowledgeable and great announcer. And I look forward to hearing him on AM 570 and also on Sportsnet LA. So learned a lot from him, guys, and looking forward to the 2021 season. So sorry that we had to cut off some of the questions I had for him. So pretty much this is okay here, guys. So with that being said, everybody, Loro signing off for now. Tim Neverett shouting you out. Thank you for coming on the show. And we'll see you all on Instagram Live for the season. Peace.